Okay, cool. All right. Thank you for clarifying. I wasn't sure. I was just waiting for it to kick off. So yeah, I'll jump in. I just watched your video. You guys did a really good job. You should be proud of the work that you did. Really nice work. Really liked the presentation and the slides that you pulled together. Definitely helped me out. So if you remember me, I'm the one with the project management kind of expertise. So that's kind of where my questions are going to come from. So I guess for the first one, in your presentation, you outlined the 10-step process, and I'm just curious, how much did you follow that process, and how much did that process help you to create your plan and Team GAN?
I'll take that one for you. That 10-step process was like the Bible, literally. Like, so it essentially with that 10-step process, we were able to get the work done effectively, and it helped us be more efficient with communicating and getting the assembly process done together. And so because we were able to follow the steps, it was just simply like, I take step 1, you take step 2, you take step 3, step 4, so on and so forth, until we get to the last step, which is troubleshooting and making sure everything works right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a big thing for us.
Cool. So that 10-step process, that was something that was kind of outlined for you first, right? So you were able to kind of take it and adapt it to however your team wanted to work?
Yes. So
Awesome.
it was outlined for us, but you have to be able to innovate on it and use it in a manner that's useful for you and your team. So what we did was we looked at the process and we said, okay, what are we trying to accomplish here? How can this process help us accomplish it faster and better than all the other teams? And then once we figured that out, we said, how can we tweak this process to work for us? And so once we took out all the extra steps that we knew we didn't need to do, and we looked through the paperwork and we said, okay, we know we don't need this, and we know we don't need to do that. And so once we finally got through the fine tooth of everything, we said, okay, we have a plan, let's implement it and see if it works.
Great. So give me an example of a piece of that process that you removed and why.
So I think a big piece of the process that I removed, that I suggested that we removed, was the extensive amount of research. So at first they wanted us to do research on the Sea Glide itself and the sensor packet that we wanted to attach to the Sea Glide. But what we came to a conclusion as a team was, if everyone is using the same Sea Glide and we already are getting the steps to assemble the Sea Glide, we only need a minimum amount of research about how the Sea Glide works and how it functions, because it's being laid out for us, right? So if we do an extensive amount of research on it, it would essentially be pointless. And we decided maybe we should spend the bulk of our time researching our sensor attachments, because that's what will make your project unique, not the Sea Glide itself.
Cool. Got it.
One example.
Great. Let's get one of your teammates on here too. You all mentioned communication was a challenge. Maybe Mac can come on. I think he was the PM on the team. And I'm just curious, if communication was a challenge, what was the first challenge that you saw, and how did you adapt? How did you change your style or your format of communication so that you all could work better together?
So our communication, it was like at first we tried to do a group chat, and then on my side, I couldn't see nothing. I couldn't see nothing that was going on. So I was like confused when they was texting, and I would talk to like one of them, and they'd be like, "We texted." I'd be like, "I never saw it." So at first we tried to make another group chat, but that ain't work. But our group was so good at doing what they was supposed to do when we said it on the breakout room. So when we got to the breakout room, that was basically like our main source of communication, because we would even stay longer in the breakout room. Sometimes somebody needed help or something, and it was easy to work with like this group, because like we all friends outside of the work, so it was very easy to communicate. If we had a problem, we could we was comfortable talking to each other, so it wasn't like no awkward group.
Good. What about how did you communicate about the progress that you were making on the project? Because everybody was kind of responsible for something different, right? And you were kind of coordinating everything happening. How were you making sure that the work was actually happening on time?
I'll make sure the work was happening on time. Like, I would ask. At first, I would let them speak. I would ask, be like, did y'all do the work? Like, be honest. And they would tell me if they did it or like they need more time. But mostly they got it done before, like way before. Like this group, we did our stuff like way before. We was basically finished with everything way before we was supposed to be finished. Like we was way ahead of schedule.
Nice. That's always a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Can I add something? Can I?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
like Mike Top said, we just like we good as a group. So like we know what we got to do. So like everything we do is like on point. You know what I'm saying? And we had like documents with like each like role, project manager, document researcher. So we could like go through those documents and see what's being done. So like we was already like on point from the get-go. So that's why we work so good together.
Excellent. So did you all come up with any other challenges throughout the course? Like I get that communication would be a challenge, especially through COVID, what you're all dealing with and doing school, remotely is tough to begin with. And we're dealing with that in the professional world too. Like I actually work for a company that's completely remote. I work from home. So I know the challenges of remote work, but I'm curious about challenges that related directly to the project. Like, did you hit any snags that were like, just made it tough to get the work done, or things that you couldn't figure out? And that could be for anyone. And maybe you didn't, that's okay too.
I don't know about the rest of my team, but I know that we all switch roles so that we can all take a chance at like trying every role in the process. And so when it was my turn to be project manager, I was like, hey guys, don't worry about the presentation. Let me do the presentation and you could just sit back and help me with it later. I bit off way more than I could chew, right? But it was something that I didn't want to communicate, and I didn't want to say, hey, can my team help me out, or can you give me a little assistance in this? And I'm pretty sure my team knew that I probably wasn't all the way there with the presentation. But I think that like them being able to like simply say, it's okay, take your time, we got you. If you need help, we can assist you with small things. And then going back into our files and stuff like that. So I got really lost about how I wanted to lay out the presentation, and I wrote everything out on paper. That was a mistake on my end, and I said, wow, how am I going to bounce back from this? And I spent a week trying to figure out how I was going to make my presentation. And so I finally talked to my team members, and they said, we got everything in OneNote and then Team Gantt. So just go look in there and look at what needs to be completed, look at how much more time you got, and then let us know what we can assist with, and then go check the files and comb back through them, see which ones you need, and then rearrange them to help you with the presentation. And so once I did that, that really helped me, and it helped me get the presentation ready to go so that we could be here today. Cool. But if I didn't have those resources, I probably would still be in here like, oh my God, what am I about to do? How am I about to get this done? Mrs. Stemple, I need help. So that was probably my biggest issue.
That's fair. I mean, pulling a presentation together is no small feat. I mean, it's like when you've done all the project work, right? And then you have to present it. It's usually a team effort. I think the thing that I really enjoyed about the video was that you all took the time to introduce yourselves and include a video of yourselves at the beginning. Even though you handled the main presentation, I liked seeing and knowing who was on the project and kind of how you are all contributing. I'm curious about the role switching. Did anyone find that a challenge? Because I think it's, in the work world, you'd find that you'd have one role. You wouldn't necessarily have to switch weekly or bi-weekly. You'd really kind of specialize in one place in most organizations. There are some places where you might kind of handle dual roles, especially with project management. But I'm just curious, was that a challenge at all? Or if it wasn't, was there one role that you like more than another? I'd like to hear from all of you on that, if that's okay.
I'll go ahead and start. I say that the main challenge for me was distance and traveling, and then space and at home. Because I decided that I wanted to do the construction, because at first I was documentation, and that went well. But then when it came time to switch, I live Tech is near Noma, and then I live near Benning Road Metro. So that's pretty far distance, like a 20-30 minute drive. And it's like my family doesn't feel safe with taking the metro, so it was very difficult trying to get it from Davon, who was the construction manager at first, to me. And one of the other things was trying to keep everything organized because I have two siblings that I live with, so we had to battle for space most times. So we had to, so it's like trying to keep everything intact and in one place was one of the struggles I had to go through, like personally at home. And then different pieces kept breaking for me in unexpected times. So that was also a struggle, was trying to make sure everything doesn't break at once. And
Lots of logistical stuff. Oops, sorry.
But it worked in the end, so that's all that counts.
Cool.
I would say I didn't really have a challenge because I know my weaknesses and my strengths. So I knew my weaknesses were construction and team Gantt. So I knew I wasn't trying to be those roles. So I started off as the researcher, and when we switched, I became the documenter. So I didn't really have a challenge because I already knew what I was getting myself into. And
Sure.
but like my most role that I like was researcher because I felt like I did more for the team. I'm not saying like document, it's not doing more for the team. I took notes, but I feel like I was really like interacting with the team, telling them what I researched and like expressing them, like telling them what I researched and like expressing them what like I found on Google patterns and everything like that. So it was just good like that.
Cool. Yeah, so you were able to kind of inform how the project was going to go and what you all were going to do.
Yeah.
Through the research. Cool. Let's go next.
I'll go next. So I really started off, as you know, as the project manager, and that's the one I like the most because at first I did not understand how to use Team Gantt, but now I like Mr. Stimple held me back and he explained it, and it was just like the easiest. Like you could really apply that to anything in your life. Like it's just so organized. It's really good. Like I really use Team Gantt like going forward like into college when I'm planning, and then I switched over to being a researcher. And at first I was like, I wasn't very excited to do that because I didn't know what to do for real. But Reggie helped. I remember asking Reggie a bunch of questions like with the patterns and stuff. But it was real easy after a while. And then the biggest problem I ran to the researcher role was like, at first I had to research a program on my computer, but it was not downloaded on my computer. So, but after a while it started working, and it was like research was very easy, but I would prefer the project manager.
Okay. Good to hear. I'm here if you ever have questions. So, Davon, are you the last one?
Yes, I am.
Cool.
So, my favorite role would have to be construction. I did project management for a good amount of the project, and I think that it's something I have done a lot growing up. Like I've never had a problem with being the leader or being the person to be like, hey, let's keep everybody on track. Let's keep everybody motivated and keeping things in order. But I think as an engineer, it's important to be able to be versatile. And so I know that it's my strength to be a leader, but I have to work on being a silent leader and contributing. And so being construction manager, it allowed me to be that silent leader and contribute and just play a like more subtle role. And so I appreciate that.
Cool. Well, I think you kind of hit on something, and that's that, project management really kind of, it's not always a role in some places, right? And it's a part of what you do as just a human that can be so important to your success and making sure that you're getting stuff done on time or within budget. And it doesn't always have to be so formal as building out a Gantt chart or a project plan, but just having those principles of just being organized and knowing how you're going to get something done is helpful no matter what you're doing. So I'm so excited that you all are exposed to this early on, because I definitely was not. So that's all the questions that I have for you. Thanks again for doing this. Thanks for letting me watch the video and ask you some questions. Again, you did a really good job. So congratulations. Y'all should be proud of yourselves.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we appreciate you introducing us to Team Gant. You know, that really helped us out. I think the best part about Team Gant was because we're all working virtually and we're at home and we're not really connected, it was hard to visualize this process. And we need to be able to visualize things so that we can put it into perspective. And Team Gant was that visualization for us.
Yep.
So like every day, even if we didn't have a task assigned, every day I got an email from Team Gant, and I could look at my Team Gant and I could see how much progress we got done. And I things off as it went along. And so as each bubble closed, I knew we were getting closer and closer to the end. And that was really helpful. And it kind of like took some of the anxiety away.
Yeah, that makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. Cool. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to hop into the next group. But again, thanks. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.
Hey, you too.
You too. Thank you.
You do the same.
You too.
How you
Hello,
doing?
hello, team. I'm sorry to interrupt your conversation.
No, it's fine.
I'll try to be quick so you can get back to your senior conversation. I think you'll. Are you all seniors here?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
How are you adjusting to senior year? Are you glad it's almost over, or are you feel like you've been robbed because of the pandemic?
I say both. A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Yeah. Well, you guys totally deserve it. It was an amazing project that I saw on your slide deck in the video.
Thank you.
And one of the things I wanted to ask you guys is, you know, how is your prototype? Who is the keeper of your sea glider right now? Is it at school or is it with you now?
So, our keeper of the Sea Glide is our construction manager. But after we did our tank testing day, which was, I want to say, last week, we left our Sea Glide at the school building.
At the school building. Okay, great. Well, I hope that you guys, as seniors, get to see your sea glider again. Were you able to get a chance to test it in the water?
Yes, I was able to get a chance to test it out, and it worked. It worked a lot better than I expected, and I don't even know why I didn't expect it to work. But
Yeah.
When it actually got in the tank and it started to shift its weight, and you seen the ballast engine move, and then you seen it start to take in water, and it shifted down into the water, and then it released the water, and then it shifted back up, and then you seen the motors move, and you seen the LED lights respond, and that just took my breath away. Like that was like it was worth every bit of heartache that we put into doing this project. I won't lie.
Nice.
And that
Thank you for sharing that, Davon, because I would imagine of all your hard work and you're testing it and then you seeing it, did it all work? So I can imagine your elateness, your happiness when you saw that coming up and down. Davon, I wanted to ask, when you tested in the water, did you use like tap water from McKinley Tech, or did you add salt in it to simulate seawater, or
why? See, that's what we're talking about. Innovative. What? I have to be honest, I'm not sure what water we used. I just went to school and he said, hey guys, we have a 70-gallon tank right here. You want to try testing it out?
It was fresh water. I can tell you it was fresh water, and Devon
Oh.
wouldn't know the answer to that because I didn't ask him to drink any of it. But in case somebody else asks you that question, Devon, it was in fact fresh water.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, great. And the only reason I was curious of that because the title, itself says, sea glider, seawater. And so when you market your prototype, to the Navy or to whoever that is interested in research, marine exploration, that you have tried salt water so that you can see if any corrosion would be on, the materials and things like that. So yeah, I think freshwater is really great for your project because you mainly wanted to see the balance, whether it's moving, whether the sensors are working. In your presentation, you've said you tested thermal sensor and pressure sensors. Is that correct? Is that the only two?
Yes, so we wanted to attach thermal sensors and pressure sensors. And so the reason we wanted to do this is so that we could be able to tell what is the temperature of the water at different depths.
Okay.
And those sensors did turn out to actually be working fine. And they gave us back data that we could translate. So that was a plus.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I wanted to ask Martin. Martin, are you the documentation manager or the construction, or did you all work every roles?
So we first started out with our initial roles, and then we switched, I believe, before spring break, which was mid-April. So I did start out as documentation manager, but then after spring break, I was the construction manager.
Okay. And when you did your research, how did you find your articles about, the importance of temperature depth? Was it a research gauge, or how did you find your articles?
I can answer that. I was the researcher at first before the role switch. I found my articles. I really looked deep into the articles. I didn't pick any articles. I picked the articles that related more to our project, to the sea glass. So that's really how I did it. I really just took a deep dive into the article before I picked it. So that's how I really picked the articles.
Ah, okay. Cool. Thank you for that. I just have two more questions because you were very clear in terms of like what documentation you use, like OneNote and Team Gantt, which is a really important organizational platform to get the team going. I wanted to know if the part about working remotely, I think, was it challenging, or did you find that to be more independent of how you guys work? Or did you prefer to school to reopen again, so that you can do this project? Do you find working remotely at home to be a value for you to focus?
I'll answer this question. So the unknown, but I know that like working, it really challenged us to actually communicate with our team more than we would probably do like in person. So it was like it was multiple roadblocks, like especially with like the internet and stuff. So like this actually like will prepare us for the real world more than we know.
Okay.
Can I add to that? I feel like this group, we will be better working remotely and in person. If we went in person, we'll probably get the project done sooner than we did, but we did it. But this group is like so good together. Like it doesn't matter remotely, in person, we're still going to get it done accurately. So that's how I feel about this group.
Okay. Yeah, so I had forgotten to introduce myself from the beginning, but I would say that my name is Trin Doan, and I work with the DC Government Department of Energy and Environment. And although I'm not electrical engineering like you four are, but I am part-time civil engineering. And what that is that doing design and build on conservation landscaping. So if you can imagine, if you guys have flooding and erosion issues on your school grounds or your yard, backyard or front yard or your church parking lots, I would be one of the roles of coming in and evaluating stormwater issues, like, you know, what places in DC is flooding and how do we mitigate that, and how do we engineer a way that, you know, should we create a berm, or should we create more trees to absorb the water and things like that, so that we could avoid flooding in that issues. And so my main role isn't much on electrical engineering, but more on solving issues of flooding and road erosions. If you've seen any like sinkholes in the district or on the road, we would evaluate how that has happened based on the construction that DC has been going through and what caused that to be going. And then the power of water, you know, the river health. So that is my main job, my daytime job of working on designing and building. And my main thing of looking at your project is the way that you guys work together, like Reggie, Devon, and Maktar and Martin. How did you use a different variety of platforms to make it work? More so than whether, you know, how long your gliders buoyant up and down, or how long did it stay in the water. I think that can be improved upon if you have more time to it. So one of the things I'm really excited about your project is that you communicate what is your biggest challenge and what documentation you use, and, you know, the 10 steps of the engineering process. I wanted to give you guys some advice about, if you're going into the engineering world, is to seek internships or to seek apprenticeship. And, you know, in terms of the Navy, if you want to further your sea gliding projects, just, you know, be brave and ask them, can I shadow an engineer on your research, that kind of thing. In my work at the Department of Energy and Environment, we do have internships for folks that would like to do in work in policy. Oh, Devon seems to be interested. Work in environmental policy, or work in water quality. So you're looking at the river near your home and you find that there's a lot of trash, there's a lot of fish kills or things like that. We have research and we have projects at our work that is looking for students to work on it. You have your hands raised. Go ahead, Devon.
Hey, I'm available. I would love to take the opportunity to reach out to you after this is all settled down and we could talk and exchange the resources to that internship. I would appreciate it.
Okay, so, I'm gonna write your name down and I'll ask your teachers for your contact information. I'll send the information to your teachers and your teachers will send it to you, Devon, and then figure out about internship opportunities. And again, you guys are mainly working as, you know, a team, as a private independent group. My role as a government, you know, bureaucrat is more so project management. And what that is that we provide funding for folks like you to be able to create and do, you know, conduct prototypes of something, you know, like a sea glide. It may not be a sea glide, but it may be a design to mitigate flooding in the district, of how that is going. And I'm mainly interested in your project on how you work as a team, more so than whether your prototype worked or not. So I really enjoy your enthusiasm as a group to see your glider function, you know, in a way that is. And if it doesn't function, allowing more time to troubleshoot would be fine too, but mainly how you guys work as a team. I have one question, and it's kind of silly question in terms of the steps that you guys have done, which is autonomous underwater robot. The other team that I interview with has mentioned something called remote vehicle, like a remote thing where it's tethered to a cable. Have you have any preference whether you want your robot to be tethered to a cable so you can have more control, or do you find that autonomous underwater vehicle to be most efficient?
The Sea Glide itself is intended to be an autonomous water vehicle, so it's designed to be able to go out for strenuous amounts of time and produce data and work efficiently on its own. So unfortunately, I would have to say I haven't heard about the option to create it and make it with the tether so that we can have more control over it. I think when we looked to innovate our project, we looked at could we control the direction in which we are navigating and the direction in which we're shifting our buoyancy engine? Could we control not only the direction but the depth, maybe not let it go towards a certain depth or not let it go towards certain areas? But yeah, I don't think we've been presented with that option yet, unfortunately. But if we do get the data and they say, hey, you can try adding a tether and adding it to the back end and adding more control, we can research it and see what type of benefits it would have. But I think the goal of the project is to make it environmentally friendly and make it sustainable as well. And so I think the biggest thing I tried to keep in mind and the team tried to keep in mind was like, even though we're creating this project, what is going to be the benefit of the project and what are you going to get out of making the Sea Glide and using it? And so we figured like having appropriate designs that mimic marine life and mimic aquatic life, and then adding appropriate camouflage and stuff like that, and then adding appropriate sensors like pressure and temperature that would give us sensible and reliable data that we could use to solve real world problems. So that's the biggest thing that we tried to keep in mind.
Great. Thank you, Davon. That's very well put together in terms of how you want to market your prototype and what research or exploration and what kind of monitoring that specific people want to use. Thank you. I've got enough information that I can fill out the rubric. Do you guys have any questions for me? Other than Davon wanting a job at at my department.
Nah, I'm pretty much good, but thank you for taking the time out.
Great. Thank you guys, and good luck and happy senior celebration, and good luck on your college adventures. And definitely come back to McKinley Tech and be a mentor to other students who have the enthusiasm that you do. Okay?
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Catch you guys all later.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Doing well.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, sorry I'm late, but we'll get going in the questions here. Davion, did I say that right?
It's Davon.
Davon, I'm sorry, I added an extra I. I apologize.
Nah,
So-
it's okay.
You were the main guy on the video. Why did you guys choose to just have you on the video?
Honestly, I just asked my team if I could just take over the presentation, and they said, hey, if you want to do it, we got faith in you and we feel like you can handle it pretty good, so go ahead.
Yes. I thought you guys did a good job on your video. So I was looking at the video. I kind of missed where you explained what roles you had. Which roles did you have during this process?
You know what? I like that because you're the only person who caught that mistake. So I did not get to present my role in the video, but I initially came in the project as construction manager.
Okay. So you were the first construction manager and then Martin was the second one?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And you got a kit for this, I assume, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what parts did you build in the kit?
So when I was in charge of construction management, I assumed I want to say from power supply, I think all the way up to the starter buoyancy engine. And so once I got there, we went to spring break. I came back from spring break and I handed over the kit to Martin.
Okay. So, Martin, as the other construction manager, how far did you get?
Got all the way up until, well, we pretty much finished it at that point. From like after spring break until this past, let's say past Monday. The 17th, and we start bringing it to the school and balancing everything. Like the Boise engine was assembled and all the pieces were there. Some pieces still broke off, but we still had like materials to quickly put everything back together, and it wasn't a tedious process to make sure everything stayed intact.
So did you test it in the tank in the school there?
Yes, we tested it with and without the wing. Yeah, we tested the ballast with and without as the wings and rudder. We first tested it with just putting the syringe cap and bottle into the tank, just to see if it takes in and puts out air, and takes in the water, pushes out air. And then Davon, I believe you applied the wings and the rudder to it, to the mounts that I put on there on that Monday.
Yeah.
Well,
I was gonna chime in and say that once I added his design of the wing and the rudder, I attached them, reshaped them, we put it back in the tank, and it worked very good. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance because tank testing day was after the due date for our presentation. We haven't been able to attach videos of us testing out the Sea Glide and sending it up and down and through the water and changing its balance and stuff like that. But if you paid attention to the link that you had to click to access our breakout room, the mini submarine Sea Glide example that you've seen in the picture for the group that said B1, that wasn't an example. That was our actual Sea Glide that you got to see. So if you got to see that little glimpse, that's just a small glimpse of it actually being in action and moving around and working.
Okay, that sounds good. Where was that link available? Because I haven't had a chance to see it yet. Was it at the end of your video?
No, I think what Davon's saying is that it was on the website. As you're clicking through to get to our chat room, where it would show the different, like it would show the team names, and then with the picture of our Sea Glide on each team.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll go back. I'll go back to the site and look for that. I've been watching videos and asking questions most of the morning. So, hello, Ken. How are you?
Oh, doing well, doing well. I see you got one of our star teams here.
Yeah, I was coming to that impression. They had the longest video and the most information and the successful testing of the Sea Glide, so that's good. Maktar, did I pronounce that right?
It's Matar. To see it like silent, but everybody just call me Mac.
Well, Matar, I try to pronounce everybody's name properly. I think that's an important thing. So you were the program manager. You were the program manager the whole time?
No. So I came in as a project manager, and then around spring break, I switched into being a researcher.
Okay. So what software did you, since you started as the project manager, you had to develop, I guess, the software plan, and what software did you use, and how hard or easy was it to use?
So we were introduced into Team Gantt. At first, it was real hard because I didn't know how to really use it. Like, it was like a lot of stuff to really organize it, like to really make it so my teammates saw it, like they knew exactly what to do and wanted to do it. But when I grabbed onto the aspect of how to work Team Gantt, it was super easy. Like it's super easy. All you gotta do is just read and see and then put a timeline.
So So once you got trained on it, you found it pretty easy to use.
Yes, sir.
Excuse
Go ahead.
me. I wanted to chime in for a moment. So I took a second out to go out and get the actual videos and pictures from Tank Test Day, and I attached that link in our chat, the chat within the conference room. So you can open up and access the chat. The link is right there for you to go through and see pictures of me, myself, and other groups testing their Sea Glide and seeing if it works or not. So I just wanted to get that to you so that you could get the visuals. That's all.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. Thank you. So Reggie, you started off as a research guy. What was your goals for research and how did you accomplish that?
My goal for the research road was to really figure out what we wanted to add on to our Sea Glide. So our group came to a decision to add temperature sensors on there. So that was my first goal to research, how can we add that on there and the importance of the temperature sensors. And my other goal was to find different articles that related to our project. So I wanted to find I helped Mr. Stipple help me find those articles, and with the patents, patent Google, we had to find different articles on that. So those are my really main goals for the researcher role.
Okay. When you switched over to documentation, what software did you use? And
well, we all used the same software, which was OneNote in the Microsoft team. And every day I used to just document what we needed to do and what needed to be done for our group.
Okay. Okay. I'm kind of running out of time here. Reggie, how often did you all meet? Did you meet virtually or ever in person?
Well, I know Devon and Martin met because they were the construction managers. They had the switch kits and whatever. But we normally just meet on virtual, but we really did a good job on virtual. We communicated well. We also formed a group chat to stay in touch with each other. So we did that accurately.
Okay. So, Martin, you were on the robot team, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought. Were any of the other of you on robots that this past year, or?
Not this past year, but we all have done. So Martin is a full-fledged member of the robotics team. Unfortunately, we are not, but we all as engineering students have done our fair share with the robotics program. So whether it was in form of internship, community service, doing a little extra to get Mr. Grimm off your back, or Mr. Leslie, but we all have contributed.
Well, for those of you that contributed to robots and I didn't recognize, I apologize, but you all did a good job here. And right now I'm the Vice President of Engineering at Trident Maritime Systems, a small company that makes stuff that goes on ships. And the skills you learned here, the software skills with Team Gantt and OneNote and those will be very valuable to you. Hopefully the skills you used with Microsoft Teams and working remotely, you won't have to use except when you want to, that we can all get back together again. And Martin, it was good to see you. Sorry I wasn't able to do robotics this year. And we were so close last year to a really good winning robot. It's just a real shame, but you all have a bright future, and good luck with what your future plans are. So my time is up, and thank you for your patience and your answers. Have a good day.